Good evening, everybody, and thank you for being here, and welcome to this 45th anniversary celebration of the Irving Convention and Visitors Bureau. For those of you who I don't know, my name is Maura Gast, and I have the privilege of serving as the 4th executive director in our history. I do want to start the evening off by taking us all on a little trip back to time. So we're going to go back to 1972, so we all have some frame of mind of what was going on at that point in time. Apollo 17 had just returned home. A little company named Esso changed its name to Exxon. The Dow Jones moved all the way above 1,000 for the first time. On Broadway, it was Grease. Dan Jenkins' Semi-Tough was on the bestseller list, and a little book about Jonathan Livingston Seagull sold for a record $1 million in publishing rights. If you were at the movies, chances are you were watching Cabaret or The Poseidon Adventure. You were also seeing people like Clint Eastwood, Gene Hackman, John Wayne, Marlon Brando, Steve McQueen, my girl Barbra Streisand, Goldie Hawn, and then there were some new names breaking out that year, which included Al Pacino, Sybil Shepherd, and Jeff Bridges. And on TV, on the small screen, which was the only screen you had at that point in time, it was The Bob Newhart Show, MASH, Maude, The Waltons, and The Streets of San Francisco all making their debut. So we all did, right? There was nothing else to watch on the 3 channels that you turned this way or used the rabbit ears, right? Okay. So I don't think I've seen Kevin Kendrow here from the city's archives, but I want to make sure I say thank you to him tonight because he did a great job digging up a lot of things from our history in 1972. Because up until that moment, the extent of servicing visitors in Irving was left to a committee of our Chamber of Commerce, who were tasked with giving out brochures due to the influx of a half dozen hotels that were being built and popping up along on Highway 183 at the time. So the city was growing, and it was determined that it was a little too much to ask the chamber volunteers to keep giving out the brochures, and perhaps it was time to look for a full-time operation. So in May of that year, the city's leaders had determined it was time for us to not only think about convention business, but it was time to move directly into that field. And the train of thought at the time was that Texas Stadium had just made its debut, and there was a concentration of what the article in the paper referred to as exotic tourist attractions nearby. And those exotic attractions included Six Flags, Lion Country Safari, and Seven Seas. Plus, this new DFW airport was coming along. And there were planned auditorium features that were going to happen at the new Texas Stadium. And as I mentioned, a motel building boom along Highway 183 with that airport now in sight. So those conversations started in May. In July, a committee set to work exploring what other tourist and convention bureaus around Texas were doing. And what they found out we all had most in common was absolutely nothing. So their documentation noted that none of us are set up the same way, although our purpose was absolutely the same: to promote our city's advantages for tourists and sites for conventions. By November of that year, the City Council charted our course that became the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Ordinance 2414 was signed by Mayor Dan Matkin, creating the Irving Tourist and Convention Bureau, sir, thank you very much. Council also adopted a 3% hotel tax to fund the organization, and that went into place in January 1 of 1973. And so that ordinance just hasn't, our purpose and our past just haven't changed very much since that point in time. I mentioned that Texas Stadium had just opened, and its influence on the development surrounding it was very much on the minds of the city's leaders. The desire to build a convention center was listed as a key responsibility of this new organization. And while I wasn't able to find out any of the history to offer what changed those particular plans about doing it at Texas Stadium versus anything else, it did make me realize that while I have often bragged or sorrowfully chanted that it took us 12 years to get this convention center built because we started this process in 1999, the truth is apparently it took us about 40 years to get a convention center built. So when I think about 45 years, it's both a short time and a very long time, but I think regardless of how long you've been involved with this organization, you'll agree that it has been a good adventure. We have had calm seas and choppy waters. We've had our shares of highs and lows. We've coasted with gentle breezes and have had to navigate through a gale force or two. But what has protected us along the way and protected our city and protected the investments that have made this a better place to live and work and visit is the perseverance and commitment and dedication of a multitude of never-ending supply of volunteer leaders and a pretty amazing staff. We've had the benefit of visionary city councils and boards of directors, folks who are engaged from the day they arrive and who remain engaged long after their formal service has ended, proven by the class reunion from all of you here tonight. I've been with the organization for 26 years now and have had the privilege to be in this role for 14. I have a different boss every year. Because of that, though, I learned so much from all of you. You become extended family to all of us, and I know all of us on the staff feel as though we've been adopted by very many wise teachers over the years, all of whom continue to be there for us, for our industry, and for our community. And I have to give credit to the tremendously talented staffs we've had over the years, and here tonight we have some pretty long-tenured employees. Mary Ann Lauda is hiding somewhere, but she holds the distinction at 31 years. One of many child prodigies in this organization. Lori Fatasa could not be here tonight. She's taking care of a group of clients with McKesson that we're hosting, but she, Diana Pfaff, and Cheryl Hopkins are all hovering right around the 25-year mark, so all making their mark. And then I know we've got some rookies, so Brenda's been here 6 months? 1 year, so time flies. Time flies. But when I talk about our ability to chart a course, it's because of the staff we have. And those that have been with us a very long time, as well as those who are newer and come in with fresh eyes and a fresh perspective. Together, though, they all evoke a servant leadership and commitment to this organization that remains unparalleled, and I know I am blessed to work alongside them every day. And finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't also reference our partners along the way at the City of Irving, the Las Colinas Association, and the Chamber. The management teams we've worked with, our colleagues and partners in so many ways, present and past. They are servant leaders who, like our own staff and volunteers, have the City of Irving leading their heads and their hearts every single day. So please join me in acknowledging all of you, our volunteer leaders, our staff members, and our teammates at the city. The other gift of leadership we've benefited from over the years is that which we get from our elected representatives, and I'm so pleased to now ask Mayor Rick Stopher to come forward and present a proclamation.
Well, good evening, everyone, and on behalf of the City Council and myself, thank you for being here tonight. It's an exciting time for those of us who have been around and seen all that the Convention and Visitors Bureau has done over the years. You know, we're very fortunate as a city when you think of all the dollars that we have been able to invest in our community and all the advertising and all the information that has come out that is great news about Irving because of this Convention and Visitors Bureau. We're so fortunate. One of the things I always enjoy doing is these proclamations, and this one starts out, whereas in 1972, the Irving City Council established the Irving Tourist and Convention Bureau, the ICVB, and since then, more than $250 million in hotel occupancy taxes have been revisited into our community, our best export, tourism, supporting the Irving Art Center, the Jackie Townsend and the Bear Creek Museums, the Mustang Museum, the Irving Heritage Museum, the city's archives, the ICVB, the Irving Convention Center, and now the Irving Music Factory. And whereas, thanks to the substantial efforts of leadership of the ICVB and its board, Irving is on the map for 3.4 million visitors annually, each becoming a temporary taxpayer in Irving, sleeping in our hotels, eating in our restaurants, and spending enough in Irving to save each household $662 in taxes annually. And whereas since 1972, nearly 200 Irving community and industry leaders have successfully supported the organization as members of the ICV Board of Directors, with a substantial vision and focus on leadership. They have guided the way for the continued growth and vibrancy of our community. Now therefore, let it be known that I, Rick Stopher, Mayor of the City of Irving, and the Irving City Council do hereby proclaim Thursday, November 9th, 2017, as 45th anniversary of the Irving Convention and Visitors Bureau.
So since 1972, a stadium has come and gone. DFW Airport has opened and expanded. 9 extraordinary Mustangs have become a part of our landscape. Water taxis and gondolas have cruised our waters. A flower clock and a whistle stop mark time. An arts community found a home. Rail lines have been built, a centennial celebrated, and this community's young history shared and preserved. 45th anniversaries are marked by the sapphire, and the ancient Persians believed that sapphires made the sky blue with their reflections. Kings wore sapphires as defenses from harm, and it was thought that these stones attracted divine favor for their wearers. The sapphire has been identified with wisdom and truth, for helping find peace of mind and serenity, and promoting a life of sincerity. Sapphires are believed to bring fulfillment, joy, prosperity, and inner peace, and many wore them to serve as protection while traveling. And they're also really, really expensive, so you're not getting one. However, we do have a simple symbol of the gifts of the sapphire for each of you this evening to thank you for your gifts of wisdom, for your beliefs in a prosperous Irving for all, through the strengths of our visitors in this industry. And on behalf of our staff at the Convention and Visitors Bureau and our staff at the Convention Center, our current board of directors, all of you, thank you for being here, not just tonight, but always, and we look forward to the next milestone on our journey.